Welcome back to another episode in Day of My Tech Life. My name is Symoné B, and today we have a very special guest. I've been trying to get a hold of Tameika for a very long time. If you are on YouTube or on Twitter or really anywhere, if you're really in the tech scene, you should know who Tameika Reed is. She is the founder of Women in Linux, and I'm very excited to have you on here today. This is our first virtual day of my tech life. So I wanted to make sure we're back with a heavy hitter guest. So welcome to Mika. How are
Uh,
you?
I'm awesome, man. Thank you for having me on. I, I always play. I don't know. I don't necessarily say play the background, but I'm always just. I look, I see how people move. I watch, and then I'll hop in here and there when I hear like people like even on your lives when I hear people like in the comments they're like, oh, that's a liar, or they'll be in the comments on whatever name like that's a lie. I'm like, no, it's not. Here's how you can go look this up. Here's some parameters to do that because it irks me because people
Mm-hmm.
do it to me, and I think it just comes from a place of not knowing, and then two, not wanting to know, right?
Right,
Because if
right.
I even if I tell you and you still don't go do it, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I've gotten to the point where I'm like, there's a certain group of people who just will never believe. And there's nothing that we can say that will make them believe that, hey, there's a lot of opportunity out here for us in tech. There's a lot of money to be made for us in tech. And
Hmm.
here's what you need to do to get to the money. Like, it's so obvious when people literally have never looked up any jobs or anything. They're like,
Mm-mm.
there's no job sponsoring clearances. There's no entry level jobs. There's no jobs that are paying this much money. And I'm like, you clearly are not looking for jobs, especially when they tell me there's no entry level job sponsoring clearances. I'm like, that's just not true.
Easiest way is help desk to get your clearance sponsored. I got my clearance sponsored in the beginning. How I got started was just really, I was studying Cisco networking. My lab partner was like, "Hey, this is just like this command line is like Linux." Had never heard of Linux before, and I was like, "Man, if I get good at Linux, I'll be good at Cisco networking." Didn't have
Hmm.
no clue that the two just did not relate like that. And
Yeah.
then and then I got into learning Linux, and then really diving up into like, okay, can I get a job with this? And then I end up getting a help desk job. And then when I moved, and this was in Hawaii, and when I moved from Hawaii to the Seattle area, I started looking at, okay, well, how can I get a Linux job? And I was working at a community college. I went down to the office every day filling out applications to get jobs. And one guy came in and started talking Linux, and he said, you say you real good at Linux. I said, yeah. He's like, well, you sound like you're real good at it. You look like you're real good at it. You showed me your grades because I took a Linux class, and back then the Linux class had nothing after I got the job to do with what I needed to know. And I got the job, and they sponsored my clearance, and I stayed with them for 3 years till they got my clearance, and they sponsored a TS. I went from a secret to a TS. I learned how to build out skiffs. I learned how to drop lines and cable up. I started using my Cisco networking stuff and setting up routers and switches and domains and stuff. So I've learned how to do all of that. And this was with a small company. This one with a big company. This was just a small company. And so I've stuck with small companies throughout the years as a contractor. I've got the most benefit out of working at a small company than I have out of the larger companies. I work for some larger companies, but I can see how people could just be a cog in the big
Hmm.
machine versus being a big fish in a small pond. So that's how I
Yeah,
got
no, I
started.
could. We definitely we're going to touch it. We're going to touch on that later, especially because
Mm-hmm.
I just got a job with a smaller government contractor
Mm-hmm.
company. So we definitely will touch on that later. But so what made you want to get into tech? So you said you got in with help desk, but what made you want to get into tech in the first place?
Back in high school, I started out with like doing just. Apple IIe go-to subroutines. I liked it. It was fun. I started looking at the Home Shopping Network, and they said computers is going to be the future. So I said, and I was like, we using computers in school. I'm like, I gotta
Mhm.
get into that. That's gotta be it. And then I graduated from high school,
Where
went
are
to
you
college.
from?
I'm from Atlanta.
You are from Atlanta.
hmm
Okay.
Born and raised. Went to Georgia State. Uh, Party back in the 99s and the 2000s, back when we was in partying with Freak Nick and all of that stuff. Uh, Flunked out of school, went back, worked at General Motors, went back to school, focused on. I like now that I've been out and seeing like the dead end jobs, working in retail, working at Wendy's, working at Marshalls, working at all the dead end jobs. Like there's no brain power, and I was like, oh, this is so boring. All right, so I said I need something that challenges me, and I didn't want to work for the state because everybody I knew that worked at the city and the state were mad all the time. They were mad. They were mad. They was always talking about they didn't get paid enough. I already knew I wanted to be a computer engineer, and so I went back and focused on getting my computer engineering degree, and that's what I focused on. But I knew
Okay.
back when I was in high school that I wanted to do something centered around computers. I had already knew that. I had already deemed that for myself because I was good with my hands. You know, I come from a single mom, so the first thing she gonna tell you, if I buy this electronic, you put it together. You put this
Right.
vacuum cleaner together. You put this
Hmm.
TV together. You put so I got really good at putting things together. And I was like, well, it's got to be something to this. Didn't know what it was, but I just knew that I was good at researching and trying to figure that out.
Right, right. So you just like saw tech and just had really just the idea that hey, if tech is everywhere, computers are everywhere, this has to be the future. So this is where I need to
Mm-hmm.
position myself to be. So was it based off of just the money or just off just the opportunity? Like, hey, it's just gonna be
Nah,
a lot of
it,
opportunities here for me.
it wasn't no talk about money at the time. At the time,
Hmm.
it was just like, this is tech. It allows me to use my brain power. I like it. I'm gonna go to school for it. Like I had big hopes and dreams. I was like, I'm gonna apply to Harvard Mudd. I'm gonna apply to Brown. I'm going to Yale. Like that's what I'm going for. I'm gonna get my computer engineering degree either from Georgia Tech or so. Like I
Hmm.
had, big dreams. Like you can't stop me. You can't tell me I'm not supposed to be there. That's how I looked at it, right? And then I flunked out of school, and I was like, maybe I ain't supposed to be there. but but then I
Mm.
got the courage. Then I figured out my rhythm and how I study and how I needed to study and where I needed help at and what my gaps were. And then I went and found people to help me with those gaps, like hiring an actual trainer or spending time after classes with the teachers and stuff like that. Like I worked my buns off to get my degree, regardless of what people think that a degree don't. I worked to get my degree, and I'm excited for it. In my degree, I paid off my student loans years ago, over a decade ago. So I'm cool. And if I had a chance to do it all again, would I go back to school? I absolutely would go back to school, get my degree again. I always let somebody pay for my advanced degrees. I'm not paying for those. Somebody else
Hmm.
can pay for that. That's just my
Right.
thoughts. That's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was in the same boat as you. My computer science degree, I always tell people that was the hardest thing I ever did. Like it was a grind. I had to go to the tutor 10 hours a week. I did not know how to code. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand while loops, if statements, variables. I didn't understand anything about coding whatsoever. So it was literally a grind for me to get through my computer science degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I like most about computer science is that it helps you learn how to think. And computer
Mm-hmm.
science, computer engineering, they help you learn how to think and problem solve. I
Mm-hmm.
would say today, for a lot of people, especially people that are transitioning, I think that they should go to college, but I still think they should let their companies pay for it first. Because what
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a lot nowadays, especially with, the WGUs, and there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with WG or anything like that. I just think a lot of people think that nowadays, especially if you're trying to transition, that if you go to school and get your degree, it's going to automatically get you a
Yeah.
job. And it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't work like that. What worked out like for me, I had a full time job as a Linux
Mhm.
administrator before I got my degree.
So how did you do that?
So I was working at the help desk. I'd been have been installing Linux, Gen 2 Linux, Rail Linux, any flavor of Linux that they needed. At working at the help desk. And then I just went online and started looking on Indeed and Dice. And I
Hmm.
discovered University of Washington was looking for a Linux sysadmin to come in and update their computers, come in and set up their desktops. And so I was doing that already.
Hmm.
I interviewed for the job, and Emily Bender, who was my manager, we're still friends to this day, really liked my work ethic in the as far as troubleshooting and talking about things in the interview, and she offered me the job. I was getting paid more than my teachers before I graduated from college,
You
and
were getting
so
paid more than your teachers before you graduated from college,
yeah.
all off of Linux and just, getting experience.
Yep. I started with I would do interview questions. I would do interviews. I would write down all the questions and then I would go solve the questions. And so I would study those questions and
Hmm.
how to solve them. So I would just like, oh, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Before they could even ask, I said, oh, I know what you're getting ready to ask me there. It's this. And they was like, you already know. I'm like, yeah. And you study. I'm like, and then you do this and you do this and you do this. I just knew what to do. Like it was every day. I was in a room with 5 computers all networked up with from Cisco routers and switches with different flavors of Linux and Active Directory, and I was just in it. I was like, I'm preparing for an interview. I'm up 5 days straight preparing for an interview. So when I get in the interview, you ain't nothing you can tell me. You can't shake me. You can't move me. My goal is to take you down before you take me down.
Right.
That's how I always operated. Because two back then the only thing you had was like the IRC channels and the online user forums, and they were vicious in the online user forums. You post a question and you say, "Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to set up an NFS mount." Did you read? Did you go do this? uh, I know I can tell you're a newbie. You were like, wait a
Right.
minute, I'm just really trying to learn. Like you
Yeah.
can guide me, I can read. You can guide me. Well, if you would have read and searched, you would have. So I learned real quickly. Oh, you all gonna try to tear me up if I ask a question. So let me do first, and then post what I've done, and then let you guide and tell me where I'm wrong. So I learned that then, and so now it's just you can't tell me. I'm going to go research. You're like, don't tell me this is a problem. I'm going to go research it, try to figure it out, come up with a game plan, and then give you. But yeah, I was making my teacher, and the reason why I know I was making more than my teacher because my teacher was mad with me in my Java class, and he was like, "You really need to get this down on setting up this Java to do X, Y, and Z." And I was like, I got it. I said, but it doesn't help me in my day to day job that I have now. And I told him what job. He's like, what job do you have? And I told him what job I had. And then I told him how much I made. He was like, you make more than me. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you.
That's crazy. No, like, Linux is extremely valuable, super, super valuable. And I just feel like, especially now, there's so many resources. I feel like people have
Mm-hmm.
it 10 times easier
Oh,
than we
most
did when
definitely.
we first started. Like you said, you were writing down interview questions. Now you can literally go on to YouTube or Google and type in Linux sysadmin interview questions, and
Mm-hmm.
like 30, 40 questions to come up with the answers, how to answer it. It's so much easier now. Back then we had to figure it out on our own. So
Mm-hmm.
for you to, show like the work that you put in, even with you asking questions on the forum and them like grilling you, even now it's so much easier, right? You can ask a question and people don't immediately tell you like, did you even look on Google, right? Like people
Right.
don't just tell you that now.
Mm-hmm.
They will actually try to help you or guide
Right.
you to the answer. But back in the day, you're right, forums were ruthless. So they were definitely, really, really going in on
Correct.
people trying to ask questions and people who are new. So I feel like tech was really gate kept back in the day.
Oh, most
Real,
definitely.
yeah. So they weren't really trying to be super helpful or anything like
Linux
that.
was mostly gate kept coming up. Like a lot of like I had a conversation with someone about they're like, who was your mentor as you were coming up? There was nobody black,
Mm-hmm.
period, to mentor me coming up. I didn't when I went into interviews. I even went to an interview on Microsoft campus because back in the day, Microsoft used to run all their web servers off of Linux, and they
Mm,
were and they were building out Linux web servers in their data centers. And so I went on the campus or whatnot. But what was crazy about it is when I would go in the rooms and I'm sitting in the rooms, it was never a black person.
mm-hmm.
It's never a black man, a black woman, a mixed black man, a mixed black woman, none of that. It was always a white male that was studying Linux or asking the questions in the interviews. And then I always got the question about, well, how did you get into it?
Right.
And my response will always be, hey man, I don't know if you heard about this, but they got this real cool thing. It's called a book, and you
No, literally,
no,
literally. There's
literally.
people don't like to read books anymore. Like when I tell people like people ask me all the time, well, how did you pass Security Plus? Well, I just bought the Get Certified, Get Ahead book and I read it. I did all
Hmm.
the quizzes. I did the pre exam and post exam. And then I did all their practice quizzes that they had. But I was like, but that's all I did. I didn't do anything else. I didn't use a bunch of different video modules. I didn't
Hmm.
use a bunch of different courses. Like, I just read this one book and did the practice exams and that was it. But
Yep.
people don't like to read the books anymore. Like my dad, he always like, did you go get the For Dummies book, right? Like cuz those were really big coming up.
The easy the easy
Networking for
guys.
dummies, Linux for dummies,
Yeah.
computers for dummies. But like now, nobody wants to read a book and I just feel like that's another reason why it's so hard for people to learn concepts because they won't sit down and read the book where they're really breaking down these complex concepts in simple ways if the author's good.
Yep. One of the big things why a lot of people get on me, they always ask me, what's your favorite Linux flavor? I said the one that pays the most. But really, but really, the one that pays the most is Red Hat. Really, that
Yep.
pays the most. But here's the thing about Red Hat coming up, they've gotten so much better in their documentation. So if you ever
Mm,
wanted to learn like Red Hat Linux and the documentation, it's all laid out for you to become this Linux administrator, Linux system engineer person that you want to be just from reading their document. You can
hmm
literally go read their document and go take the exams and pass the exams. It is
Yeah.
literally all laid out for you.
Yeah, it's all there. It's all there for you. I just watched somebody recently on Twitter. He just started like his Red Hat Enterprise Linux journey, right?
Hmm.
And he got his RHCSA and he got the RACE, I think within 90 days, right? So
Hmm.
he's literally just going in and learning and labbing. I'm watching him on Twitter. He's labbing every day. So
Hmm.
if you want to learn Linux, you're going to have to actually do labs, practice, study. But I never learned Linux with a book. I know some people recommend like some
Hmm.
books to read. I just learned on the job. Everything I learned was on the job. With all of our daily tasks that we need to do, our daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. But when it comes to Red Hat, you said that it pays the most. Now, why does Red Hat pay the most for people who might not know like what all these different Linux flavors mean? Like, why does Red Hat pay the most out of all the other Linux flavors that are out there?
let's clarify. Red Hat pays the most from a government contracting perspective because most
Yes.
of the government contracts are ran on Red Hat.
Yep.
Does the government use SUSE? Do they use a Debian flavor? Sure, but for most of the even the older technology for the government is all ran on Red Hat. You like
Hmm.
if you got like you could be an old engineer. Literally, I got a young lady in our group that just got hired on at Boeing, and she's walking in and they say, "Man, you know Linux." Now she comes from a whole different background, right? She comes from Apple, then got hired on with Red Hat, and then now she's doing work at Boeing, right? And she went and got her RCSA while she was at Red Hat. Got all. I think it's 5 or 7 of them, right? So cool, done. Now when she walks in and starts working at Boeing, they're like, "You know Ansible? You know
Yeah.
how to do that?" "Oh, you're gonna be our go-to. You're our subject matter expert." There's literally places within the government that have no idea about how to use automation tools. They don't even understand the newer versions of Red Hat. Right?
Hmm.
They've been on Rail 5 or Rail
Yep.
6. They don't know. So it's easy money to walk in and be that subject matter expert to say, "I can help you migrate from there to here." But now you got to have a challenge for yourself because now you got to take it to the next level. Is what else can I do in this position?
Hmm.
What else is out there that's going to take me to the next level? Right. And so you got to make sure that you're getting in a position where you can upskill. Like this is the time to upskill. If you the big dog on campus when you walk in, use that time to upskill.
Right.
Cause now your work effort is here. Your learning effort got to be up here. So now way you can take your next jump, you're not jumping for pennies. You're not going from 120 to 140. No, you're going from 120 to 180, 190 because you're trying to
Hmm.
make that jump because you studied the game. You understand where it's going. You understand what you need, the skills and everything. So now you finna take off. And we just gotta be aggressive when it comes to that. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did definitely. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people just aren't aggressive with their career, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what you just explained is exactly how you need to be aggressive with your career. I think a lot of people, they make all these moves that are very like lateral. Like they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay, well, I know how to do this or I know how to do this, so let me just try and do some over here that might be a little bit more challenging, but it's pretty much the same job I'm already doing." And then they wonder why they're not able to get pay increases, big pay increases. They
Mm-hmm.
wonder why they're still not like senior engineers or
Right.
they're still in like analyst roles and admin roles. It's like, well, you got to push yourself to get to the next level and you got to be aggressive with it, whether it's through certifications, whether it's through volunteering to do more on the job, doing things that other people don't want to do. But you got to do something to get to that next level. Sometimes it might be, going back to school and getting your bachelor's or your master's, right? But
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, you have to do something to get to that next level. But most importantly, you can't be afraid to apply to those roles that you might feel like you're not fully qualified for.
Right. I could give you from this standpoint. The people that are aggressive, they got labs at home or they got a lab in the cloud somewhere. They're trying new technologies. They're installing, they're failing, they're writing up how they did something. Back in the day,
Hmm.
you really didn't blog like that. Like
Yep.
you didn't really blog. You just said I
Yeah.
did something. But now people, "Oh, I got a GitHub repo. I got a GitLab repo. This is how I
Yep.
set this up. This is how I failed. Here's what I've learned. I'm gonna make me a Medium page, or I'm
Hmm.
gonna throw this out here and do X, Y, and Z." Or like people now are putting more visibility into what they're doing at home and what they're learning, and those people are getting calls for jobs. They're getting calls for consulting. They're getting the calls to come in and show this team how to do X, Y, and Z. Right? So the other aspect of the whole Linux thing is the consulting part that you get as well too. But we can talk about that later. I'm gonna let you answer your questions.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Talking about the Linux consulting, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I guess now, so you started out on help desk, you made it to
Mhm.
Linux sysadmin. So where are you now in your career? Now that you've been in for a few decades, like where are you at now in your career?
It's
What are you doing? And if you're comfortable, give us like a little
Yeah,
salary
it's
range.
weird. It's
Yeah.
weird. I'm in a weird position.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, I went from being a lead on a team to being a director.
Mm.
Then I quit because I'm one of the ones like this. Titles don't mean nothing. Money do. I could
Mm-hmm.
be a director, be getting paid 200, but I could also be a Linux. Hold on, a DevSecOps software engineer
Yep.
and get paid 350.
Yep.
Who? What you think I'm gonna take? Oh, this not a director. I'm not gonna take that. How dare you? No, I'm gonna go take the money. I'm running with the money. I'm rolling over here. That's where it's flowing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going. So I've been in a hodgepodge of position. So right now, I'm in a hodgepodge of positions right now. So right now, I'm an infrastructure slash platform lead, and we're building out we're working on edge computing and cloud computing in various locations around the world. Let's say it like
Mm-hmm.
that. And those and that platform that I'm working on consists of Kubernetes. It consists of various observability tools, everything you can think of, from GitLab, from working with Elk, from working with monitoring disaster recovery, from building out not just that disaster recovery at the edge, but disaster recovery in the cloud, from also monitoring not just with Elk, maybe doing some scans with Nexus or Prisma Cloud or cloud security. Like I'm a hodgepodge of everything. So I look at every single thing. I'm like, okay, well, what's the next thing that we're gonna do? Let's come up with what that could look like, and then let's work towards that as a North Star or even as a proof of concept, right? So I find myself like in everything from backups to Linux to Active Directory to whatever you name it, I'm playing with it, right? And it wasn't supposed to start off that way, and that's just how it has morphed in a matter of I've been there almost a year at the company, and so now we're going into a new year. So yeah, and you say salary. So you know what? I got a little something for you because I want to talk about it because
Okay.
you asked about salary. So I'm gonna give these
Yeah, because
the the
I feel like you're one of the ones that talk about money a lot.
I
I even
do.
wanted us to I wanted us to also have a talk at GovTech Con about
Mm-hmm.
money too, because I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like everybody needs to be exposed to it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, it ranges, and I'm gonna tell you why it ranges.
Mm-hmm.
So in your live, I talked about the 25% put into your 401k. There are a
Mm-hmm.
couple of companies that do it. One of them that I was talking about in Australia, they do this too, right?
That's
So
crazy.
so they automatically put 25% to your 401k. So that 25%, and I got my thing. I don't know if I can share my screen or not with you.
I think you can, yeah, if you hit share.
Yeah, yep. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
Uh, let's see,
Yeah, I mean
screen.
it's crazy when you talk about those smaller companies, right? I saw some companies that were like 14%. Okay, you pulling up the receipts. I think I like the digital because we could just go straight to it right off the
Right.
bat.
So I'm just giving a scenario here. All right. So I can give my scenario when I first moved to Florida. All right. When I first moved to Florida, I was getting paid 132,000. Right. So automatically they're gonna put 33,000 into your 401k. That doesn't include your money that you put in. So let's say for right now, I was making 132,000. The most I could put in is 23,000. So in 1 year, I could put in 56,000 into my 401k, right, from employer and whatnot.
Hmm.
But there's a little slight difference there. The slight difference is this is the minimum that the company would put in, but the way they do it is whatever you work. So say you worked 120 hours or 130 hours for one pay period, it'll be 25% of that 125 hours or 130 hours. So instead of this being 33,000 for the year, it could be 40,000, 50,000 that the company puts in for the year, plus your 23,000 that you put in.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And
Right.
I saw that. I when I was looking at some of the smaller companies, because you know me, I'm on clearance jobs all the
Right.
time. So I started looking at some of the websites and some of the companies' benefits. They're like, oh, we put 14% into your 401k, or oh,
Mm-hmm.
we do 14.2% into your 401k. And I said, I ain't never seen it that high before. Right. So even when I was at Raytheon, they did something called the RISP, which was
Mm-hmm.
their Raytheon. I forgot what the I stands for, but it's something like pension, basically.
I know what you're
So,
talking
or
about.
savings plan. It was like Raytheon something savings plan. So they automatically put 1% in, even if you put no money in. They did that. So, and I was wondering why they were doing that. I know before, back in the day, they had pensions and they got rid of it. Then they
Mm-hmm.
started the risk. But I'm thinking they probably started doing it because these smaller companies are offering so much into the 401k, not even just matching, but just putting money into your 401k. And
Right.
I kind of look at that as a new age pension, because it's like you don't got to
Mm-hmm.
put no money in. We're going to put X% in there for you.
Mm-hmm. Now let's keep going.
All right.
On lines 12 and 13, right? They total up to what line 8 is. All right. So lines 12 and 13 are your PTO and what your insurance come out of. Now, you may have for the year, you may spend like, I don't know, probably like $600 a month for your insurance. But for your PTO, because you flex your time, you don't really never take time off. You just utilize the holidays, utilize when something is closed, you just flex your time, right? And in some cases you remote or you're hybrid. So you really just don't take off, right? So in the end, this 33,000 could essentially come back to you at the end of the year because they pay this out at the end of the year. So whatever's left in this one, they pay that out. Plus, a lot of these companies give bonuses, and so those bonuses can range from $1,000 to $15,000. On average, they may come in around about 10 or 12. So in all, you may walk away with a job. It says 198, but it actually may be more in total compensation because again, they're putting in more money into your 401k because you may not be working those your normal hours. You may work a little more. And on top of this, you're gonna get this back plus a bonus. And if you really froggy, you probably got a sign on bonus that year. So that's why I say a lot of the smaller companies do this. So your company that I was talking about, that's over in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So my guy, he works over in Australia. The company does the same thing, except they pay for all of their insurance. So
Mm,
on an average year for him, he may pull in 350
man.
in Australia, doing the same thing. But then again, he still get bonus. He still get the free flights.
Yep.
um, and on top of that, they pay for him to stay. They also
Mm-hmm.
got the food, the gym memberships, the whole nine, the
Everything
doctors, the
free.
everything free, right? So
Yep.
so again, he's just over there, and then we talking about tax free up to a certain point. So
Mm-hmm.
you bank, you take home more than you think,
Yep.
right? Versus that same 350 that I would be making, say living in DC, is gonna get taxed to death.
Yep. Everything's expensive.
Everything's expensive, so I don't see my return on investment like I would want to, right? So
Right.
again, I'm not saying all smaller companies do this.
But
I
they're
am
out there
I'm
because I
saying
seen them.
they're out there,
Yep.
and you have
I
to
got a
be
call with a
strategic.
company that does 14.2% on Monday, tomorrow.
Good.
So Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna talk to him, but I probably won't take the job because I
Mm-hmm.
just accepted a different job offer that's 100% remote,
Mm-hmm.
supporting Space Force.
You
But
came on over, huh?
yeah, yeah, I had to. So, but I think I'm gonna hear and listen to what they talking about. They're based out of Utah, so
Gotcha.
hmm
Gotcha.
I'm gonna
They're
see. And the
based out of
position is in South Korea that they're
uh
trying to bring me on
okay,
for.
they sound like it sound like high performance computing, and is it Roy, Utah?
I have no idea because I don't know nothing about Utah, but
Okay,
they were just
so
like, yeah, your first interview is gonna be kind of like a screen and with the team, and then if they want to talk to you more, we're gonna fly you out to Utah. And you
okay,
interview with the team.
so
Yep.
Utah is known for supercomputing. That's
Mm.
where it's really Roy, Utah, but supercomputing and high performance computing, that's what's out there in Utah. So anything
Mm.
dealing with like your whole thing with natural language processing, really your AI, machine learning, even getting down into working with quantum computing and stuff like that. That's what that area is known for. So
Okay.
so they just got money out there.
Yeah, I could tell. I was like, you want me to fly out? I was like, I haven't flown out to an interview or been to an interview in person in probably like 8 years. But I was like, sure, I'm down.
Yeah.
I might take the free trip.
Yeah,
So,
I mean Utah's cool. They just don't, it's all right. I had a CubeCon is there this year. I've been to a conference in Utah. They're one of the ones. They're really like, hey, we can't give you a shot. If you want to take a shot, we have to pour your shot, and you can't have but so many in an hour or so many in 2 hours. They're real strict over there. I mean, it's Mormon, so
oh,
you
okay.
ain't gonna. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to know why you're going to Utah, right? If you're going to
Right.
Utah because you're like, oh, I'm looking for love, and someone's gonna nah. That ain't it. You're going to Utah to make some money. You got to have focus. I'm going to make some money. That's it, right? You got to know why you're going to these places, right? Because I got a job offer to go to Pocatello, Idaho,
Yeah, I remember you
to
told
work.
me about that.
Yeah, to work for the FBI. And the lady called me. She said, "You sure you want to go? You sure?" She's like, "Cause it ain't nothing out there." Tell you. I'm like, if I go, I'm going for money. That's it.
Right.
I'm not. I know I'm not gonna have no social life in Pocatello, Idaho.
Right.
I'm not going out in the streets after dark. I ain't doing that. I'll be sitting in the lab
Yeah.
making some money.
Right, right. Yeah, one of the positions that I interviewed for, the one that I took, the guy was like, "You sure you want to come to this area in Pennsylvania? Like, you'll be going there a lot. There's not much to do." I'm like, "Hey, I lived on a mountain in Taiwan before. Like, I'm telling you, I could live anywhere. And I also lived in a fisherman town in Japan. I could
Hmm.
live anywhere, but I was like, if I'm just coming and going, I'm like, it doesn't really matter to me, right? I'm coming there to work, so." It doesn't really matter what's going on in the area. Like wherever y'all need me to go to support the mission, I'm all for it.
Right, and I think a lot of us don't want that. When I say a lot of
Yeah,
us, meaning like we're so used to our cities, we're so used to our Houston's, our Atlanta's, our Miami's,
the
our
DCs.
DC's. What our New York's. We're used to that city living. I'm not knocking it. I understand the support behind it, right?
Hmm.
But I am knocking it to say if we ain't doing it, somebody else is gonna go get that money.
Facts,
So we got to
facts.
figure out which one we want. Why we can't have both? Well, sometimes you can't have both. Sometimes you may have to get a little awkward for a little bit. 2 3 years go make you some money. 2 3 years and you could go make anywhere from 250 to 400,000 for. I mean, and just imagine it. Just imagine for three
Right.
years you made 400,000 because you had to be a little awkward. 3 years, 1.2 million for
That's
three
what
years.
I did. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I just think that a lot of people, whether you're new into the industry or whether you're already established, I just think that people they're just too rigid. Like they don't want to adapt. Like I'm one of those type of people that I am willing to get it by any means necessary. Right? Like a remote location is not going to stop me from getting the bag. If somebody said like, "Hey, you can come out here, you can make 250, 300,000 a year," but it's kind of remote. There's not many people out there. I don't care. I'm going, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's temporary, like you said. I think that so many people don't realize that a temporary sacrifice can be that one thing that you need to do to completely change your life forever,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just 12 months or it's just 2 to 3 years. Like it's not forever, and it's going to help you advance in your career for sure, because just like you said, if you're not going to do it and if we're not doing it, somebody else is doing it and they're getting paid very well to do so. And then you never know what type of career opportunities you're going to get from having that. You know how many companies say like, oh wow, you worked in Japan, you worked in South Korea, you worked in Taiwan. Like that's crazy. You've been able to do a lot of dope things. You worked on all these different like big programs as
Mm-hmm.
the radar system engineer. That's a lot. Like literally people that I had older coworkers I was interviewing again with Raytheon. So I
Mm-hmm.
had older coworkers who first they were working with me back when I was in Japan. At that time I was 24. This was
Mm-hmm.
my second two, I was about 2.5 years into working after college. So
Mm-hmm.
the guy, he's like, man, I'm seeing your resume. You've done so many things since Japan, right? So if you're aggressive with your career and you go out there and you take these opportunities that other people just refuse to take, you just never know. Like it's going to completely change your career.
Look, we take opportunities every single day. We get up and drive down the street and get on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Road rage, racing on the streets, what have you, whatever the case may be. Take opportunity and chance with your career. Step outside the box. Now, I get it. Some people can't because they got kids or family members that they're taking care of or something like that, whatever the case may be. But sometimes for you that folks that's single, you don't have no kids, you ain't got to take care of nobody but you. This is the opportunity to go out there and try to make as much money as you can. Like I'm like I want to retire now. I'm like I'm tired. Like
Yeah.
I want to retire. I'm
Yeah.
not tired from work. I just want to do. I want to do something else. I want to
Mm.
do something else. I want to build out um women in Linux more. I want to do
Mhm.
more of that. But then I also don't really want to do that. I really want to put other people out there and let them do stuff while I just go generate interviews, money, get the thing going. Y'all do all that other stuff. Y'all can do all the training every day. I don't want to do all the training every day. I've done enough. I've been in it now. I've been in now. What? See, I started with Linux in 2000, the end of 2000, beginning of 2001. So 23 years I've been working with Linux now. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm good. I've seen it. I know what they're
Yeah.
doing. We're doing the
So what
same
are you doing in
things.
your day to day now in your current role in Linux?
So my day to day, I'm managing people.
Okay.
I'm also coming up with like plans on where we're going next, what we need to do, how does that look. But then in my spare time, in the meantime, I literally be spinning up my Linux boxes in the cloud or teaching. I teach on Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays I have my meetup and my day. So my day to day is not Linux, but my
Mm-hmm.
day to day is Linux.
Right.
Like we still working with Linux. I still read the documentation. I go through what are you trying to do? I sit down. I look at what people are trying to do. I come up with a game plan. Hey, let's come up with a strategy. Let's see if these things work, and then let's go from there. But on my meetups, I teach everything. Like I'm teaching about agile, how to facilitate meetings, what's your career trajectory when you're talking about you're working in Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you want to do OpenShift. Maybe you want to do Kubernetes. Maybe you want to be a technical writer and write about just the
Yeah.
industry itself, right? So I talk about all of that on YouTube, but really on Wednesdays, that's really when I get down to the nitty grit. I even show I even showed my last year, that was no 2 years ago, paycheck stub. I could do it here too. Like I showed that when I was living in Colorado, what that looked like when you're talking about you making 10,000 every 2 weeks, plus you're working, you may be working another job, and the working that other job they're paying you 5,000 every 2 weeks. So basically 20 and 10, you're getting 30,000 a month after taxes, right? So then
which is
when you start
crazy.
look, right, when you start looking at it like that, like, like working those jobs, working two jobs, doing this, that, and other. I've been doing that for a real long time. So working in Linux is like osmosis to me. Like I can just go to sleep. Like I know what you need to do. I know what
Yeah.
this need to do. I know how you need to set that up. I could. Your job description is the interview, and it's gonna tell
Yep.
you what your day to day is. And the only thing you have to worry about is haters.
So
It's haters. Go ahead.
so for people who want to be like, let's say, a Linux sysadmin, like what would they expect to do on their day to day, and what type of Linux skills do they need to be able to do and perform on the day to day job?
I'm gonna be honest. It depends on the job that you're applying for, right? But
Yep.
for the most part, for the most part, most people who apply to work in Linux do one or two things. They're either on. They're always gonna be on the command line. So make
Hmm.
just throw that
Get
GUI,
comfortable with that, like
throw it out the
now.
window. Throw it
Yeah.
out the window, right? And then learn an automation tool. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say learn an automation tool, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to be working with Ansible as an automation tool. Now, if you're doing something in the cloud, you're probably going to be working with something like Terraform and
Mm-hmm.
working with Ansible and Terraform together because you're probably building out some infrastructure in the cloud, and then you're working with something once you build it out, adding a little flavor, as we like to call it, to it, and that'll be Ansible to add the flavor. So day to day could be, well, what's the file systems running out of space? You may set up some alerts for that. You may be creating users and usernames and password, but that's when LDAP may come into play, or it's connected back to Active Directory.
Mm-hmm.
You may even be working with expanding partitions with LVM, or troubleshooting why a computer is running slow, with the disk space, with the RAM, with the CPU. It could be a number of things. Troubleshooting is going to get you a whole lot further, and working on a command line is going to get you a whole lot further than you understanding all the different flavors of Linux, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understanding what the kernel means, and modules and drivers, and how those things operate, especially when you're talking about what's the difference than working in bare metal and then
Mm-hmm.
working in the cloud. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people like to work in the cloud, but a lot of people are on prem. A lot of people are running their workloads on prem. And so that unique skill set right there sets you apart. Cloud is cool, but a lot of people run their workloads on prem, or they're coming back out of the cloud and moving back to on prem
Yep.
because of the cost. So you kind of gotta be like a generalist and a jack of all trades. I kind of call it just blanket infrastructure, where you know
Mm-hmm.
how to set up a server, you know how to kickstart a server, you know how to automate the kickstart, you know how to use Ansible, you know how to use Ansible to manage and monitor 15 to 2,000 machines. You understand how to use the satellite server for updates. You understand how to scan a server and run STIGs, or you know how to use Nexus to set it up. Like there is so much that you can learn and be, and literally that job is a 15-year job, because it's
Right.
people that's been doing this for 15 years. That's all they do.
Right.
The
Right.
sticks, scans, update
Mm-hmm.
machines.
Yep.
That's all they do.
I try to tell people like I don't know what it is. It's like everybody wants like the sexy job and to do the sexy thing. Like when really if you just get good at doing a few key skills that are in demand, right? Like Linux sysadmin, Stigs, ACAS, scans,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even like anything infrastructure related, like you said, right? Like on prem. I think on prem, to me, like I've never dealt with anything in the cloud because of the type of work that I do. That stuff is, it's just not in the cloud. It
It's
does
just
not
not in the
exist,
cloud.
right?
It's just
So
not
like
exist.
it doesn't exist. It's not in the cloud. So I've never done anything cloud based, especially like in GovTech. But it's just, if you just focus on these skills that are in demand, you are fine, right? You don't need to learn every single thing that's out there, right? Everybody wants to be a pen tester. Everybody wants to do like cybersecurity threat hunter or some type of like hacking type of role. Like it's like it takes you so long to get to that point. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from making progress is that they're trying to do something that I'm gonna be honest is not for everybody, right?
No,
Everybody is not cut out to be a pen tester and a threat
nope,
hunter. Everybody's just not cut out for that. Everybody's not cut out to be a software developer, but you can easily become very good at performing vulnerability scans. You can become
correct,
very good at spinning up Linux boxes and being a Linux sysadmin, and then
correct,
eventually maybe you work your way into Ansible. Like you
correct.
can do that.
And but these jobs are out here. They're just you just gotta be one. Gotta go read the job description. I
Hmm.
read so I don't know if
I'm
you
sure
like
you reading
me.
job descriptions like I'm reading job descriptions.
Look,
Yep.
look, 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 look. You said you sure I'm reading job description like you reading job descriptions. Check this out. Okay,
Yep.
check this out.
Nigga,
I
let's
got
see what you
look,
gonna pull up.
look.
Let's see what you pulling up.
I got job descriptions up on my screen right now. Right, looking at okay, what's the principal infrastructure engineer doing at Zillow? And so
Okay.
the other big thing that I think a lot of people get left out on are these what is a senior principal and distinguished engineer.
Yep.
Because that's when you start getting into principal and distinguished,
Hmm.
it's over. You won't even you won't even think about like this right here is nothing. Zillow what Zillow is offering right now is nothing compared to what Netflix is offering.
Ooh, Netflix, they offer a bag. I mean, I've seen some Netflix positions paying $1 million a year. I
Yeah,
said, dang. I
yeah.
said, man,
Netflix
that's
is
crazy.
Netflix is offering between $100,000 to $700,000 for a principal infrastructure engineer, like crazy money, right?
Yeah.
Like these numbers are crazy, and I this is just my little sweet secret sauce here. Whenever I want to look at jobs, I can just go up here and type DevSecOps, and I put in like 300,000, and I just want to see like what's
What's
coming
up
back.
there?
Yeah, what's coming back for me on DevSecOps, or I'll do this. I'll do
Well,
Linux.
I think you got to do the filter by the money, like
Well,
by the
no,
salary.
yeah, well, I'll do it this way. It'll come
Oh,
up.
okay.
Yeah, it'll come up. Yep. And so
Oh, okay,
okay,
cool.
L
I
four.
need to start doing that on Indeed. I think clearance job they need to add something where you can search by
Yeah,
money. I don't think
that's
it's
why.
possible. That's the only thing. I sit there searching like even the job that I got, they didn't even have the salary on there listed. That's another thing in GovTech too. A
Yep.
lot of jobs don't have a salary listed, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you might be overlooking a lot of high paying roles.
Correct. So like here's the ones I see out here on Netflix. I just go out here and just, the ladders. I go look at what they talking about.
Mm-hmm.
500, okay, 283, 384, okay, whatever. I'm just looking, I'm testing to see what's out there. I'm looking to see what they talking about. I'm looking to see like, oh, what's the ranges they falling in? Oh, they
Mm-hmm.
remote 100 to 500K L4. Okay, I see you. Like I'm just looking to say like for me like what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
what's in the job description, and then I also look to see how long the job descriptions stay out there. Because they let me
Mm.
know they ain't finding nobody and they could be
Yep.
getting desperate.
They
So
might be. If there's some jobs they post it about 3, 4, 5 times. You're like, okay, they're not able to find
they
anybody for
can't
this
find
role.
they can't find nobody for that role. So let me go on the slide in and see what they're talking about. So it
Mm.
just really depends on these job descriptions. Again, I know we may be talking big money to a lot of people 200, 300, 400, 500,000, but to me those numbers are small and minute when we start talking about the different areas in which
Mhm.
Linux administrators can get money in the fintech area, and we
Mhm.
start talking about working with like the World Trade Center and working in those areas in the finance, they pay big money. And then when I'm
Yeah.
talking about big money, they're the ones that are pushing the 5, the 6, and the 7, and more
Yeah,
in those
I just saw
fields.
a quant intern getting paid 250 as an
Hmm.
intern
As an
in
intern.
fintech. I was like, wow. Well, the salaries are definitely getting crazy. And I like how you brought up, principal engineer and distinguished engineer. That's something that I've been trying to figure out in my career. Am I
Hmm.
going to stay technical, or am I going to go the TPM route, which is technical project manager route?
Hmm.
Because that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing, especially for a lot of the GS15 roles with the government, a
Hmm.
lot of them are really just technical project manager
Hmm.
roles, honestly. And then you of course have the technical side where you go on principal engineer, distinguished engineer. I have an interview next week with a company for a principal space field engineer position. But I'm like,
Hmm.
again, I already took an offer, but I still got interviews coming in. So I'm just trying to figure out like which
It
way would be best for me
depends.
in my career. I'm like you too, right? Where I'm like, hey, I'm tired. Like, of course, I could go get a job overseas, but I'm like, if I could do something that's similar to what I was doing overseas, 100% remote in the States, and I just travel overseas for 2, 3 weeks, that's the job that I accepted. I'm like, I think that's the best of both worlds to me. It's like, hey, I can do 2, 3 week trips to Japan and
Hmm.
Hawaii and Germany and stuff like
Hmm.
that instead of having to live there full time. Of course, I'm not getting the tax free money, but I get
Right.
that flexibility. So,
Right. Well, and it depends on where you're at, right? What you're
hmm
looking for. I think I like to stay technical as possible. And the only reason why, because here's my rule of thumb. When I retire, I'm not gonna retire fully. I'm just probably
hmm
gonna retire from like being managers and leading people and doing big projects or greenfield projects or coming in where there's chaos. Just put me and let me do my 9 to 5, and I just want to go home. And so that might, for me, I know at the least I could make anywhere from 100 to 200, depending on what I'm willing to do as a Linux engineer, principal,
hmm
distinguished, whatever, and just be chilling and not lead teams or whatnot, and just chill and just collect my money and just clock in every day, do some work, read something, go to a conference, put something on a Jira ticket, put something on a Confluence page, go home. I know that, and to me that's retirement for me. Not retirement for everybody else, but that's easy money for me. Then I looked at it like, I know you're doing GS. I said I may switch over and do GS because I don't want to pay for insurance in retirement.
That's what I'm saying. To me, I'm like, I hate to say it, but I'm like, okay, what's the most like soft life that I can create, over the next 20 years? Because I know it in me is that I'm always gonna work. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
work until I'm dead. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just how I am. It's how I've been hardwired because my family. That's just how I am. So it's like, well, what type of work is gonna be something where I'm not having to grind at work 24/7, being the person that's responsible for keeping up live ops, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to be
Yeah, I
doing
don't
that.
do live ops.
Yeah, I don't want to see, and that's what I've been doing. I've been doing live ops. So with this role, it's not live ops. I got an offer for a Linux RF system engineer role
Mm-hmm.
in DC, and that's a live op role. It's exactly what I was doing overseas, but just in the States. And I'm like, well, it don't really make sense for me to do the same thing and then not get the tax free money, and I got to go into the office. But I want to do something where it's like
Mm-hmm.
less stressful, but I still get that nice money, that nice cushion well into
Mm-hmm.
retirement, right? I don't want to be grinding on the day to day. That's kind of like what you were saying too, is like, I want to be able to a Linux system engineer role is going to be pretty easy for you at any point in
Mm-hmm.
your career.
Yep. It is. And on top of that, it's gonna be easy from the standpoint of like I just keep up with what's going on in the field. So it's
Mhm.
never like I gotta play catch up. I go
Right.
to the Red Hat conferences. I talk to people at Red Hat. I read the mailers. I am a Red Hat partner, so I know the new training. I know, and I just go through and I take it and I do it just to keep myself abreast of it. But if I feel like just going out and consulting, I could, but
Hmm.
then that leads into other things. When I'm going out to consult, now I'm totally held responsible. I can't hide.
Yeah.
I can't hide. I can't take a
Yep.
day off. Right? Like, no, they want their money. They want what they paid for, and they want it now. So, and I get it. It's I want to be soft, but I don't want to be bored either. Right? I
Mm.
don't want to be
You're trying to
bored.
find
Like,
that balance.
yeah, that balance where, like, oh, I could do this and I can do that, but I won't do the live ops thing. I don't want a pager. I don't want to be on call. I don't want to do none of
Right.
that. I don't want to
Right.
do
That's
that.
what they asked me. They like, you okay with having to come into the office? Not in DC, not in the middle of the night in DC. When I was overseas, I just had to go 5 minutes down the street. Yes. Like,
Right.
and I'm getting tax-free money, like, and everything's for free. No, not really living in DC now.
Yeah, I get that part. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked about money. I want to touch a little bit more about money because, like I said, you're gonna be
Go
at
ahead.
GovTech Con, and you're gonna be, hopefully, you'll teach some Linux skills, talk about Linux, and then I wanted us to talk about money too. So with a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people, like you said, some of these numbers might sound very large to them, and some people they might be. This is the first time they're making this type of money in their life. Like, what type of I guess things should people be doing with their money just on a basic financial standpoint once they get into tech or as they're in tech in their career? Like what's some things that they could be doing?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. I actually have a chart that I actually have created. I know you have your book, right? You got a book out there
Yep, yep,
on
my
it, right?
financial starter kit book, which
Yep.
I need to reboot because it's been some changes.
I got you. So this is Tamika's learning lessons that I've
Okay.
learned.
Did you
Um,
share your screen?
I'm getting ready to. I'm waiting
Oh,
for it to
okay,
load.
cool.
These are just Tamika learning lessons that I've learned and things that I think help can help others out. I haven't released it in a form yet. I'm just still working it
Hmm.
out. But here is what I call my foundation right here at the bottom. And my goal has always been is to get people to a minimum of 200K, and
Yep.
then they can become accredited investors, and then they can invest in real estate with other groups. They can invest in whatever comes along, whatever the case may be, right? The one big thing is I think people need to go back is calculate how much money you have made,
Mm.
and that comes from just going into go to Social Security and go look at and add up how much money have you made since you started working. It could be 15 up until now, right? And the reason why I say that is that'll let you know really what you've been doing with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
It puts it into perspective to show you what you've been doing with your life, and if the employers you've been working for have been playing in your face. And if that don't light a fuel under you to make sure that you are like, oh no, I gotta make leaps now, that'll make sure you make leaps. The other one is with your money, you most definitely need term life insurance outside your job. And this is
Hmm.
just again my foundation. Pay off your high interest debt. You can do the avalanche method or the snowball method. Pick one. Max out your HSA. I tell
Hmm.
people that max it out, max out your 401k. Again, I'm looking at from a perspective of setting yourself to automate these things. This should just be automated. Set up your high yield savings account. A lot of people say do an emergency fund for 6 months. I know Dave Ramsey says $1,000. I'm saying a year. We saw what happened with the pandemic. We've seen some people get laid off. You got to work to get up to a year, but I'll take 6 months. And so another big thing why I say a year is we just had the storms down here in Florida, right?
Hmm.
Imagine your whole life gets swept away. Your house, the job that you was working at on the beach is gone. The house that you was living in is gone. you got to start over from scratch. What you gonna do? You ain't got no money saved up. You ain't
Right.
got nothing. So that's why I say, go and put yourself some money aside. And build a community. I should put that on here. Build a community. So those are just the first basics. I'm not even telling you to go buy Apple stock yet. I'm just telling you to get the basics down. Automate that first.
Yep.
And then once you start making a little bit more money, then you could like get into buying a house, setting up a non-traditional IRA, maybe even looking at CD stock REITs, muni bonds, setting up a trust. uh Again, people don't understand what a trust can do versus a will. A will is going to take you to probate court. A trust is going to keep you out of probate court. Understand the difference between the two and understand what you can do. And one of the big things I got down here is attend Toastmasters. The reason why I say that is
Mm.
because you need to learn how to speak. You need to
I feel
learn.
like that should be in the first level, in my
I
opinion,
thought about
because
it. I thought about
yeah,
it.
I think so because it's just so many people that just are not comfortable speaking, and especially not comfortable speaking and speaking up at work,
Yep.
right? So like if you don't speak up at work, it's hard to move ahead because nobody really knows like your thoughts and your leadership that you might have.
Right.
I feel like people need to start
Let's
being
move it
able to
down
just talk, like, right, yeah, Gen Z call it yap. You got to be able to just yap on command,
there.
and
Right.
you got to get comfortable just speaking because it's going to help you go far in life, in your career, and just in general.
Yep.
So
And,
they got to do a little, they got to do a lot at the foundation.
they got to do a lot. You,
Yep.
you you got to do a lot at the foundation. But once you get all of this set up, it's just gonna come like osmosis to you, because now we're start talking about you're attending up here masterminds. You've already started speaking more. You're attending conferences.
Hmm.
You're doing YouTube. You're showing up on podcasts. You're looking at different strategies and which ways that you can invest your money. You're looking at, oh, how do I expand my network? What's going into my trust? Again, accredited investor up here. Everything should be paid off over here. This is my little 3 year plan, right? And then
3 year plan.
3 year plan, and
The
then
3 year plan. If you
yeah,
do it right, you can do it. And that's the
and
craziest thing about it, is that if you do it right, you can really do this. But it all comes down to setting that foundation and being aggressive with your career. You cannot do this and achieve it in a short amount of time if you're not aggressive, right? People don't want to study, they don't want to save, they don't want to make sacrifices, and they don't want to do the hard things. So that's why it takes them a very long time to do something that could be done in like a couple of months.
yeah, and you can push this out to 5 years, but
Hmm.
this 3 year plan, I'm saying you can go from 200 to 250 easily with the right skill sets, with the right network, and being strategic. Now, here's the gotcha on this. You can't go outside. Going
That's that
outside.
sacrifice you got to
You
make.
you you that you talking about, you gotta go, you gotta take a trip to Tulum, or you about to go, you ain't doing that.
Can't do it.
Yeah, you gotta find a job that's gonna allow you to work and play. So that's what you're doing. You're working and playing.
Yes, yes, working and playing. That's what I love it. To me, it's the perfect balance. It's perfect balance for me. Need
Right,
to work and to play.
right. A lot of people want to go out and get to 200. I'm about to go ball. I'm about to go turn up at the Blue Flame. I'm about to go get the G Wagon. I'm about to go get the hookah. We
You
about
got
to
to wait.
party. You gotta wait. I made
Yep.
all the mistakes. I'm telling you to wait. I've made them. I know what it's like. I listen. Listen. I don't know nobody in my family, and there may be somebody out there. I just don't know 'em, that that's able to pull down 30, 40, $50,000 a month.
30, 50K a month.
I
Big
don't I,
number.
I don't know them. So I just looked at it and said, it's a lot of money coming in, and I need to do something with it. I need to put it somewhere, and I needed to stack. I don't want it to be all in cars. Trust me, I bought all the cars. I done bought all the cars, right? But I know I needed the stack, and I know I needed to invest it, and I know I needed to have towards the end. So much so that when I was talking to my advisors, they was like we got to get other people coming in and help us manage what you're doing and what you're trying to do and set up these pots and stuff. I was like, I don't need to pay for anybody else. Either you can do it or you can't.
Yep. Don't let
don't
them
bring
work you. Don't let those financial advisors work you because
no
they
don't
will
bring
if you let them.
don't bring nobody else in. We're gonna work with what we got right here. We're gonna set this thing up and we're gonna keep it pushing. That's it. So the sign on bonuses for 30,000, the sign on bonuses for 25,000, sign on like I got friends that get sign on bonuses for 100,000. I was like, man, I ain't never seen 100,000 sign on bonus, but they out there.
Mm,
They out there. I just ain't seen them, but I know people that got them.
right.
Just saying.
It's so much we gotta do it with our money once you start making it, and I just think this is a super important conversation, and we're definitely gonna have to continue it at GovTech Con because there's so much that you can do with your money.
Yeah,
Once you start
we need to talk
making.
about. I mean,
Hmm.
real estate's one aspect, right? And there's so many aspects in within real estate. I like land, right?
Hmm.
I'm a land buyer. A lot of people like the rentals and so forth, and that's cool. But I also like to buy and to flip the land. I think it's easiest for me, right?
Hmm.
And like I was around buying. This is way pre-pandemic. Where lots were $1,200, $1,500. Now you can't get a lot. You back what before the storms? You couldn't get a lot in Florida for less than 100,000, depending on the area. So buying where you know the city is going to have a 10-year plan, knowing what they're going to grow into, go ahead and get ahead of the curve and buy the land there, sit on it, and then let them come. You may spend 20,000, but they may come back and offer you to build on it and subdivide it, and your 20 in say 3 to 5 years could turn into 150, 160,000. You never know. It could be more, but you just never know, right? So you hold on to the land. We ain't making no more land in this country, but we sure are gonna build more apartments. We sure and people are fleeing Florida now. They going inward. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
They
yeah.
are. They are. It's so many ways to save and invest your money, but the main thing is definitely getting started. So I mean I think that that chart was very, very helpful. So I'm gonna be uploading this on like just regular podcasts and on YouTube too. So if you're just listening to the podcast, make sure you do go watch this episode on YouTube because Tameika did pull up different charts and different job descriptions, all kinds of things. So definitely make sure you look at that for sure. But I can't wait for us to continue this conversation at GovTechCon in December because you have such a wealth of information when it comes to the technical side, to the money side. You know, you're me and you. I feel like we're similar in that. I feel like a lot of us, right? We did not grow up with this, so we made the mistakes. We've learned from it, and we're sharing the information with others so that when you come in, you can do the right things. You know, with your money.
Mm,
So yeah, I can't wait till we continue the conversation at GovTechCon. Trying to cook up a nice panel for us of some people that definitely doing a lot of good things with their money right now in tech.
yeah, I saw you sold your G wagon. I saw the video.
Yep. Yeah, the price was dropping like crazy. And I'm like, okay, it's time to get out of it because I think that's something that people don't understand is like and at first I thought I was gonna go overseas full time. So I was like, I was getting rid of it anyway because the prices started dropping. So I'm like, all right, let me just sell it. Cause if I'm gonna be gone for 5 years, by the time I get back, I'm not gonna want a 2020 G Wagon if I'm getting back and it's 2028's out. So I was like, let me just sell it. But I got this remote job. So I do have something else that's coming on the way, but it's gonna be something that I can actually rent out while I'm traveling.
Gotcha.
So I done found out that the Urises here in Atlanta rent for $5,000 a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you don't got to get a new one. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I'm looking at. something different. Like I said, we could talk about that stuff at GovTech Con, but yeah, I had to sell the G wagon just because it just made sense if I was going overseas. But
Oh, don't
it's
don't
all
get me
good.
wrong. Hey, when I was in Colorado, the G wagons was selling 150 to 200,000 over sticker.
Yep, yep.
They was on the.
Prices have changed. So what happened recently is that Benz, they actually dropped the retail price on the 2025s. People paid over sticker for the 2024s. So with me having the 2020, like the older models, they're just dropping a lot in price because the people that paid over sticker and for the 2024s, they're underwater. And because the 2025s, they lowered the prices. So they done did some crazy stuff, but I was able to get out, and like I said, going to just go a different direction with something that is going to bring me in money while I'm gone, right? Like same thing with the house, right? We are always traveling. Like this month of October, we're going most of the month. Why have a big house that we're never at when we can come live in the condo that I bought in West Midtown 3 years
Mm,
ago and rent out the house on Airbnb and make an event space, and the house is going to bring in anywhere between probably 25 to 30,000 a month in income. So why live in that house when I can make it a cash flow asset now?
yep,
So,
and that's the
and we're
one.
never here.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we got to talk about is like how to make cash flowing assets, whether it's event spaces, whether it's a
Hmm.
house, whether shoes, sneakers, Poshmark, whatever the case may be. And then even I always say this right here. Your skill sets are what I call intangible assets, right? So
Mm.
you may know DNS real well right now, and the company that you're working with doesn't need your DNS skills, but it may be somebody else later on down the line, 6 months or a year from now, that may need your skill set and willing to pay you for your skill set. So that those side consultant jobs where you're getting paid 100, 150, 200 an hour, that's where your skill sets, that's where you really blossom. Because now you think about it, you working on a job on the side and you getting paid 150, 200 an hour to work, I don't know, say 150 hours, or maybe you may do 200 hours for a project. That's on the side.
Hmm.
That's literally your company, your money.
Yep.
And you're using the same skill sets to generate money. But we'll talk about it.
Yep, we definitely going to talk about it. We definitely going to talk about it. People definitely need to make sure they come to GovTechCon because we're going to talk about so much more for sure. But I do have one last question for you. What's one piece of advice that you can give people who want to be where you are today?
I'm gonna make it a run-on sentence.
That's
uh,
cool.
uh, uh, Ignore all the haters, and that could be your significant other. Um, Always put forth your best effort into it. And last but not least, it's okay to fail and it's okay to cry. Like,
Mm,
I think we're often hard on ourselves to the point where we forget that we're human. But it is okay to have that moment where you cry, you shake it off, you walk it off, go hit the gym, whatever the case, then come back with a new game plan, a new fresh outlook. But just don't give up on yourself. Others may give up on you. Others may not even see the willpower in you, but you got to see it for yourself. The more you see yourself, the more they see you. That's how I look at it. That's
those
it.
are all great pieces of advice. I agree with every single piece of advice that you just gave. So this was an amazing episode, Tamika. I'm glad that you've been popping into my YouTube lives. I was like, we need to do this. We need to do this episode because I think that, if people aren't listening to what you've been talking about and what you're teaching, they definitely need to start listening and paying attention. But where can people find you at if they want to learn more about you and what you
hmm
do? Where can they find you at?
I'm everywhere on social media. Women in Linux. I'm Tameika Reed on LinkedIn. I think we even have a TikTok page. I don't even look at it. So if you message me there, I'm probably not checking that. But everything Instagram, everything YouTube, women in Linux across the board. I speak at conferences. I just finished a talk with Refact R. I just did a talk with her. I'll more than likely be at KubeCon. I got to get my stuff together so I can go. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere but nowhere. So anytime you hit us up on social media, it's probably me or D responding. Just check us out. We meet every Wednesday live on our not on our YouTube but on our meetup. We've been running it for 8 years now, where we just talk about everything we talked about here. I show paycheck stubs. I do offer letters. I show it all. Like again, I was talking. Me and Simone was talking earlier. Like we just didn't talk about these things because of the nature of the job, but now we talk about it, and so far it's been okay. But we don't talk about nothing classified, so that's all right. It's all good.
Exactly. Never talk about anything classified. Always, people gotta always remember that. But yeah, but this has been a great episode. Thank you so much, Tameika, for coming out. This is another episode of Day in My Tech Life. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to come to GovTech Con in December to listen to Tameika teach about Linux and talk about financial literacy, definitely get your ticket at govtechcon.com. And there's a discount code in the description below. But this was a great episode, and I'll see y'all on the next one.